So yesterday we had Jackie from the Great Scott Company, who does marketing and for big businesses, small businesses, all sorts. And she came along and talked to us. We had about 30 photographers. Auckland Camera Centre hosted it, put on food for us and drinks, and they've been really awesome supporting my channel and our photography group of people. So it's really nice to go along and just listen to what Jackie had to say about marketing. The talk was about an hour and a half long, but we had to cut out a lot of the questions that were coming in from people because you just couldn't hear them. But I think the point comes across, and I hope you guys get some value out of this video. So let's roll the clip. So today we have something a little bit special for you guys. I've managed to convince my friend Jackie, who owns the company, the Great Scott Company. She's a marketing expert who helps companies grow and helps with sales teams and all that sort of stuff. She's coming today to Auckland Camera Centre. We've got about 30 photographers coming along. We've got food, everything. Jackie's going to have a chat to us about marketing and things we can do to, get more work, convert inquiries to sales, how to manage time a little bit better, and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to head inside. I'm going to set up a tripod. When Jackie gets here, we'll do a little bit of an intro, and this whole thing's going to be filmed for you guys to watch. So check it out.
Testing.
So what's going on, Jackie?
Hey.
I'm doing the power pose. I like a little bit up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm powerful.
Yeah. We're just saying talk on marketing tonight.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about making mistakes in big business. Then we're going to talk about how to avoid them. And then we're going to talk about 3 tips to converting people.
Inquiries into sales?
Religious conversion.
Oh, right, okay. Cool.
It's church tonight.
Okay.
No, it's actually the Church of Sales, so yeah, how to convert people into sales.
Oh, good.
So that's going to be good.
So you heard it. We're doing a talk tonight. Jackie's the boss. We're just going to roll with it, see what happens. We don't even have a plan. We're just going to wing it. Well, she has a plan. I'm going to wing it.
Auckland Camera Centre, you see that?
You looking forward to tonight?
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
You shoot weddings too, eh?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, I'm just trying to sign out of the computer because it's shutdown time, end of the day.
So welcome everybody. I'm just going to do my quick party trick, okay? Chris, Amanda, Michelle, Michaela, Kate, Anna, Ange, Sarah, Adam, Melissa, Josh. Oh no, Makora? No, close A. Amor, Amoka, Demora, Nicole, Thomas, Anna, Lara, Kira, Marla. How good is that? Whoa, yeah, all right. That's after a wine too. I'm glad you spotted the deliberate mistake that I did there. Thank you for paying attention. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is, thanks for having me along, and thanks for coming out too in the evening and on a winter's night. That's no small feat, so I really appreciate that. What I'm going to do tonight, Chris and I talked about what you might need, and the sort of ideas that I put together were to talk about my biggest mistakes when I set up in business 19 years ago, and just some things that you can do to set yourselves up better for success, because it probably took me a good 11 years to really sort of start kicking in some success in my business, and so that's 19 years in total now. And so, yeah, what sort of were my biggest mistakes, and the kinds of things I did to, I can advise you to do to avoid them or set yourselves up for success. And then the 3 best tips that I can give you at this stage for conversions. I've got a bit of a framework in here, but I don't really stick to framework too well. So if you're an agenda follower, you probably want to go and not hang around, because I sort of have an agenda, but then as we get talking about stuff, you might find that there's something interesting that comes up and I get interested in that, and we'll talk about that and how we can build that into what you're doing. So I get excited about that sort of stuff. So if you want to participate, please do. It's not a one-sided show tonight by any means. I'm much more comfortable if you guys want to chat about stuff too and ask questions and tell me what some of your challenges are as well, and then we can, if you've got any questions that you want to ask at any stage, just please do. I've given you a pen and a paper because there may be some time at some stage you might want to take some notes, and because there's sort of phrases and stuff that I use that I think might be really useful for you to jot down if you don't know them already. And I've got hundreds though, so I might just share a few, and then you might say, I really love that. Can you give me a couple more of those kinds of phrases that are persuasive type phrases to use with people? Some of you also may feel like you're not salespeople. because you're passionate about what you do, which is photography and editing, and so you may feel like, but I'm not a salesperson. Does anyone feel like that? Yeah. So what I'm really anti hard selling, so I don't teach hard selling, and if it's cheesy, there's something I'm going to teach you that may feel cheesy for you, but I'll teach you why we do it, and so then you can practice it. You're probably using it anyway, but you just don't realise it. Okay, so there's some phrasings that I'll show you that are really, really cool for just getting people on side and stuff. So happy with that? And and then the 3 tips for successful conversion. You might want to take some notes around that, because there's just a couple of phrasings in there. One of the first things that I did when I set up my business, so I can remember back in 2000 was when I set my business up. And I was given a 20-hour-a-week contract to go into a business, and it was an indefinite contract, but so it was a huge, really for me, a huge blessing to be given that to start my business up. Can you imagine that, getting 20 hours a week of photography? So that's huge, to be paid for 20 hours of your week. And then building up the other 20 hours was, that was sort of like I didn't even think about that. I was pretty happy with the 20-hour-a-week wage that I was getting, because I pretty much made that match what I was earning before at 40 hours, if you get what I mean. So my hourly rate that I set myself into was, made it so that I only had to work 20 hours a week. But that contract wasn't guaranteed to last forever. And so to sit back on my laurels and go, wow, I've made it, I've set my business up, I've got this 20-hour-a-week contract. Well, contracts come and go. So, and so what I had to learn was a lot about how to get myself out there, how to get business in, how to close as much business that came in, how to close it and get it on board and get them using me rather than going to a competitor. And so I can still remember back in 2000, sitting in my place in my pajamas, and my daughter was nearly 2. My mum lived in the same sort of house attached, so she would look after my daughter as much as she could, but otherwise she was running around and set the business up because I got given this opportunity. And so I can remember sitting there, with my pajamas on, thinking I really shouldn't be in my pajamas for a start, and I should be dressed and ready for work. I've got to change this, because all I felt like doing was stopping and having coffees and have TV on in the background and just see what's going on there. And so the first point that I've made here was demotivation. Getting up and getting dressed was probably the first tip that I'd tell you, is get up like you mean it. Be deliberate about your day. Get up and get dressed and imagine that you're gonna do some work. And if you don't, then at least you're dressed, and that's awesome. Mel Robbins does a really cool video called the 5-second rule. Has anyone seen that? So I've written that on the notes. So have a look at that. Really interesting. She just talks about the 5-second rule is about getting up within 5 seconds of waking up, and why. And so she's pretty persuasive in what she talks about there. Setting yourself into some good rituals, I guess, good, positive, successful business rituals. Imagining that you're a successful business. You may well be in a successful business, but so if you don't feel like you're there in a successful business, then imagine that you are. Get yourself into some successful business rituals. Do the things that you would do if you were where you wanted to be. So set yourself up like that. Fake it till you make it. I'm very big on that. Hating and avoiding some aspects of my job was pretty huge too. What I do is I have a training business. So I go into businesses and I teach customer service, sales and leadership from years of working in those areas and managing salespeople. And when I set the business up, I loved selling, I loved training, I loved dealing with people. I hate sitting in my office and typing stuff or waiting for workbooks to print or laminating stuff. That drives me insane. So doing that shit basically was driving me crazy. And somebody said I needed to read the E-Myths. So the E-Myths is about the entrepreneurial myth. And what they talk about in there was a woman was a really good cake maker, a pie maker. Has anyone read the E-Myth? No? Cool. What she did was she was really good at making pies, and everyone said, oh, you should set up a pie shop. You're such a good pie maker. So she did. She set up a pie shop. And what she found was that she was up at 4 cooking the pies, baking the pies, and then selling all day with the shop open. And then she'd cash up in the evening, and then she'd place the orders, and she'd be doing the paperwork, and then she'd get to bed, and then she was up at 4 again, and she was doing all that crap instead of just baking pies. And so what it talks about is really outsourcing the stuff that you don't want to do. So if there's stuff around your business that you don't want to do, then it's about looking for people that can support you in that. So accounting, for example, I used to spend like 2 days in a weekend. I'd hated it. I think I did 2 monthly GST, and I used to get, but back then, far out, I had my bank statements, when you used to get bank statements, and I had all my receipts I'd saved up for the month. I had to separate them into Amex, Visa, O account, O1 account, and separate them all, put them in date order, and then tick them off on my statements. So that's how I did my accounting for the first years, until I actually gave in and went on to Xero or MyOb, any of those life changes, absolute life changes. So well worth their weight in gold for what they can do financially for the management of your business. And also what I did was, I talk about poor money management. I found a really good accountant. So it probably took me 11 years to learn these lessons. I mean, some of you may well have already mastered them, but if you haven't, my best tip I can give you is set up a tax account and put 20% of whatever comes in, put 20% into that account and don't touch it until PAYE or GST comes around, and then use that account. In my 3rd year in business, I got my terminal tax for the first year, and I owed 11 grand and I hadn't saved anything. And that's why businesses go under in the first 3 years, because of that. They end up with terminal tax coming through. And I'm not going to explain all the tax for you, so unless you want me to draw some pictures later, so I can do that. But all you need to know is keep 20% into a separate account and don't touch it. It's well worth it for the peace of mind it gives you later. So outsourcing was the key thing there, and setting up the different accounts. Once I did that, I just found that really changed my world, because I wasn't worried anymore I wasn't constantly worried about that I hadn't kept that money aside and that I was going to get a tax bill in. If you keep the 20%, well, you've got your tax bill sorted there. It will be sorted there. You don't have to worry about, whether I'm going to have to find more. It's there if you keep 20%. Pretty safe, okay? And I also set up a savings account, and that changed my world as well. So once I actually put some money aside for savings, I found that I could invest in different things as needs came in. So having a mindset of fear and poverty. So has anyone read Rich Dad Poor Dad? Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, yeah. And I haven't read it, but I've heard about it. And what he said, what I've been told about it. So in Rich Dad Poor Dad, what he talks about, my understanding is, you might be able to even explain it better than me, is that he grew up with his first dad was the kind of guy that worked day in, day out and came home, sort of kind of worked for the money, lived for work. And then it was his whole mentality was then you retire and, that's what your life's about. And then Rich Dad, his mum, I think his mum remarried, did she? Or his friend's dad. So he was observing his friend. So it wasn't even his dad. No. He stole someone's dad. Okay, a friend's father. And so he got to sit around the table there and get to hear the conversations from Rich Dad, and understood that that the attitude around money was quite different. Having an attitude of abundance was a real life changer for me in my business. So getting my mindset really around money. So just identifying in yourself whether you've got that, I shouldn't charge this much, or I should only charge this because whatever. Think about what you're worth, get your value right, and place your value right in the marketplace. I used to charge myself out by the hour, and then I met another training company, and they said, you never charge yourself by the hour, you try and charge yourself by the day. And I was like, what? And what they charge themselves by the day, I said I had a 20-hour-a-week gig. They charge themselves more than what I charge for a week, for a day. And I was like, wow, that's mind-blowing. I can't imagine charging that much for a day. I'm sitting pretty on my 20 hours a week gig for, it was like $650 a week I was earning at the time, back in 2000. And I was quite happy with that. And they were charging $800 a day. And so then a training company broker came to me and said, look, we're putting together 3 training companies to pitch for some work with Auckland City Council. So do you want to put your proposal in? So I did. And I put it in at $800 a day. So it's 3 days work, and I put it in, and you can imagine what I was thinking, like putting this proposal together. And I was palpitating, about putting 5,000, what is it, 18, 3, 6, $2,400. Put that proposal in for these 3 days' work, and the broker rang me straight away, and I thought, she's going to tell me I haven't got it straight away, and she said, we can't put that proposal forward because you're way too low. You need to up it to like $1,800 a day, and I had to really get my head around that. Well, what's right? Right is what the customer feels is value for money. And so when I put it at $1,800, she said, there's companies that are pitching at $1,500 a day and some at $3,000 a day. So at $1,800, you'll be just above, you won't be too cheap. $800, you're way too cheap, they won't even look at you. But at $1,800, probably about right. So I put this proposal in for $5,400. And can you imagine? And I still remember the day when she rang me and said they want to go ahead with you. And it just changed my world when I thought about the way that I'd been pitching myself and marketing myself. I was so embarrassed, that I was doing it at like $33.50 an hour or something, and I needed to be at $1,800 a day. So, but the interesting thing was that they actually strode off this, as I said I would do, but higher expectations. So that was quite intimidating for me. I was like, I'm not worth $1,800. I'm only worth $33.50 an hour. So getting my head around that, there's such a thing called the imposter syndrome when you set up in a business. Anyone relate to that? The idea? The imposter syndrome, oh my gosh. And I remember sitting in a reception at a client's and reading North and South, and they said that most women, actually, it was a female driven article, but she was talking about most women, when they end up in their own businesses, feel like a fake and are worried that someone's going to know. Somebody's going to know I'm a fake. And I was sitting there ready to go and see this client and pitch for business, and I was feeling exactly like that. Like, what am I going to tell them that they don't already know? What can I train on that's, and yet I've got loads of stuff that I teach and that people seem to get stuff from. But it's that self-doubt, eh? Yeah, so understanding your value and really getting your head around your value and having an attitude of abundance rather than poverty. It's just, as long as I'm scraping by, as long as I'm just paying the bills, I'm good. I've got a successful business as long as I'm just paying my bills, as opposed to I've got some stuff, around my business that I really needed and everything that I wanted around my business, and I've got some money in the bank. Well, that's probably a better place to be, eh? But living in poverty, as what I was in my first few years, and I had to really switch my brain around when I was thinking about, just what my value was, as opposed to what I could charge. Two different things, eh? Yeah. So fake it. It's again, fake it till you make it. Make it. Put that $1,800 proposal in and then go, oh my gosh. And then get it and go, yeah, that costs some $1,800. The next one was getting out of negative mindset, so negative speak as well. So just on that first page, still learning from the mistakes, having a mindset of fear and poverty, getting out of negative speak and mindset was also... my mum's a lady, a good old English lady, and you'd say to her, how are you? And she'd go, oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Not bad. And the next day it would be not bad. So I'd say to her, so is that different to not too bad? Or, I'm a bit confused. Are you worse or better than you were yesterday? And she'd say, oh, shut up, Jackie. But it made me look at the way that we speak and the fact that we use a lot of negative language, like especially in New Zealand, no worries. In the book Blink, has anyone read Blink? Sorry? You write that down?
Just assume we don't read.
Yeah, clearly we're not reading. We're just editing all the time.
Visual people.
Okay. So if any of you sign up for my 4.5-day sales workshop, maybe I'll just read some books to you. Just the interesting bits. Audio books. Picture books. I'll hold some pictures up and we can talk about some shit, about some books and what they say. So in Blink, Malcolm Gladwell wrote Blink, and I love his writing style. He just puts together a whole load of stuff, and you kind of read a bit and you go, far out, that's a lot to think about. I'm going to have to go away and think about that and then come back. And so it probably took me a good 2 years to read Blink. Not that I'm a slow reader, but I just read a bit and go away and I talk to groups like this about it, because stuff I found really interesting I'd share. But there was an experiment that they did. The reason why it's called Blink, by the way, is because, just out of interest, Getty's Museum were looking for they were looking to buy a Greek statue called a Kouros, a miniature male statue, and it was $10 million. Had just come on the market from a private dealer, and so they were thinking about buying it. So they got it invasively tested by their scientific team. They did this testing and they came back and declared it was authentic, so they bought it for $10 million. They unveiled it to their 3 art historians, and the art historians had really, really bad reactions to it. So one said they felt it was really fresh, so for an ancient artefact it shouldn't feel fresh. Another one said that they felt removed from it, like there was a pane of glass between them and the piece. And then the third one said they felt repelled by it. Really bad reactions. They should have fallen in love with it. And so the Getty's Museum said, well, they said to the Getty's Museum, have you bought it? And they said, yeah. And they said, oh, that's a shame. And they went, shivers, maybe we've made a mistake. So they went back and got it more invasively tested, and it was a fake. So how did they know, when they hadn't even touched it, how did they know it was a fake? And so that book goes into that's that blink reaction that you have to things. You just know. You just know that there's conflict going on over there. You just know that there's, that there's a couple on a first date over there, in a bar, or you just know stuff, right? You get a feel for things. You meet someone and you go, oh, what a sleaze. You get that feeling. Hey, yeah.
I know what you mean,
yeah. And so the blink is about that blink reaction to things when you just get that feeling about stuff, that you just know stuff. That the hair's got on the back of your neck about something's wrong. And so one of the experiments that they do, there's lots of experiments, it's all about how people have blink reactions, why people do things, why they make decisions they do, why we buy the pasta with the man with the chef's hat on it, because it must be really good pasta because he's got a chef's hat, or the marmalade that's got the dew on it, on the orange, so it must be really fresh oranges they've used, freshly picked. So it's a really interesting book. Anyway, so I'm not here to talk about that book for the rest of the night, although I could. But one of the experiments that they do in that book is it's called the priming experiment by Dr. Joseph Barge. And what he did was he got 2 groups, and the first group, they didn't know what they were there for, they just knew they were there to do a bit of an experiment. He got 2 groups, and what he did with them was got them to, the first group, he's got them to walk up a long corridor, and go into a room at the end, and then on the whiteboard there was lots of groups of 4 words. And injected into those words, they had to make sentences up out of each of the groups of words. In the first group, they had negative words. So they had words like, it's an American experiment, so Florida was considered a negative word because people retire there. Like loneliness, isolation, sadness, grief, depression, those kinds of words were up just one of those in each of the groups. They didn't know that though, that they were injected in there. They just thought they were groups of words and they made sentences. And then they timed how long it took them to walk back down the corridor. The second group, they timed how long it took them to walk up, and then they put positive words into their groups, and then they timed how long it took them to walk out. The first group with the negative words walked slower out than they walked in, and the group with the positive words walked faster out than they walked in. Isn't that interesting? So I just took that and went far out. So you could actually literally change the way speed somebody walks by the words that you use, even though they don't even know what you're doing to them. So, even when we say, oh, no problems, no worries, but I mean it in a positive way, it doesn't matter. You're still using problems and worries, negative words. So I believe, I like to be deliberate about what I do and try and change it up all the time. And so I like to think about what I do all the time and try and improve. And so I'm always thinking about the wording that I use and trying to get away from using negative wording like no worries, not a problem. I'm afraid, unfortunately. So you're having negative wording. Part of that was I've had a few people come around and quote stuff at my house, and a mate of ours actually came round to do a quote on a build. So I've got a garage and it's just crying out for a deck. It's crying out for an $80,000 deck. It's going to be crying for a long time. But I had him over and I said, what do you think, about getting, if I was to get a deck built up there on the top of the garage. So he comes around and he goes, oh, yeah, see the problem there is, what you're going to have to do. It's like, I'm not going to have to do it. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to repile it. And it's probably better just to pull the whole thing down. And then you're going to have to get council consent, and pay contributions, and by then I'm like, oh, far out. I just want to slip my wrists. I'd rather do that than get you to do my garage, to do my deck. So, and by then it was like, if he just said to me, oh, okay, so tell me what your vision is. What are you looking for? And I would have said, oh, I want a deck and I want doors for the kitchen, and then but we could have the garage underneath, and that'll be perfect. And if you have to redo the garage, that's fine. I don't care. But how much is it going to cost? And if he'd said 80K, and that'll include council contributions, whatever, all this, and this, repiling, all of these things. That's what it includes. So you're going to get all of that for 80K. So if you can get that 80K to your mortgage, done. How much better would that have been? But instead he told me all the problems that he was going to have in doing that job for me. So I didn't want to put him through that. Let me take the pressure off. Let's not do that then. Sounds like you're going to be under way too much pressure, way too much stress. I don't want to do that to you, Matt. So I shouldn't have said his name, eh? Really, really good builder. In fact, lots and lots of tradespeople. My partner's a trader, he's an electrician. And he's the same. He'll go, oh, well, the problem with that job is, you're going to have to... So I don't care. I don't want to know what the problems are. Just tell me how much it's going to cost, what the bottom line is. Don't tell me all your problems. That's your job.
It's got to be a positive experience.
Oh, my goodness.
You can either afford it or you can't. But either way, it's a positive experience. Right?
Yeah, and if you tell me why it's going to cost 80K and all that includes, well, then that gives me value for money. But if you go, oh, it's going to be all these problems, sounds like a huge headache, and it's 80K, forget it. Let me share you another story. So I had a gardener. I was looking at getting some gardening done, and I had all my weeds were as high as my trees, just about. So I had 2 quotes come in, $650 to $700 for these 2 quotes. And then I said to my friends, does anyone else know a gardener? So they said, yeah, get this guy to come and quote. He's on the bones of his ass. He'll do a cashy for you, and he needs the money like anything. And so I had him over. He walked around the garden smoking his rollie. I'll never forget it, eh? And he was really like, oh, okay. And he knew a lot about plants, so probably because he smoked quite a lot of plants. I think. That's what he did with the cuttings. And so he was walking around the garden smoking his rollie, and he's looking around, and we got sort of towards the end of the job, and he said, it's getting up there, eh? And I went, oh, really? Oh, shivers. That sounds bad. Why? What are we looking at? And he said, oh, $250. Bless him. So I said, I'll pay you $300, and can you do it within the next 2 weeks? He said, oh, yeah. He was like over the moon. And I was over the moon because I'd halved how much I was going to pay. But see, his value, he didn't value himself. He thought that he was only worth $250. Other people were charging it up. So really getting into that mindset of because you're worth it, Was he worth it? Because he was well worth it. He did a great job, and I got him back to do more afterwards. So he was over the moon with that relationship built. But and I ripped him off. I exploited him big time. But isn't that interesting? So when you go and you're pitching for what you think you can charge, it's about really you've got to ooze confidence. Because if you're not confident, why would they pay it? Why would they think why would they think you're worth it if you don't think you're worth it? You've got to sell your worth. Make sure that they really believe how much you are worth, and tell them all the good stuff that they're going to get for that value. So understanding. Read The Secret. If you haven't read The Secret, have you heard about The Secret?
We don't read.
It's in film version. Yeah, but the film I found a bit airy-fairy, so you'd definitely hate it. But the book's really good. Yeah, so The Secret's a really awesome one just for changing your mindset and getting a positive mindset about what you could have, how it could be, as opposed to being limited by our own beliefs. I think being limited by your own beliefs, which was my belief around poverty and, being tight-assed and not having money in the bank, and that was so my belief was that's what we deserved. We shouldn't getting too much money, you just end up being an arsehole, basically, is what I believed. That rich people were arseholes, and a lot of rich people I knew were anyway, so that kind of reinforced that. Funny how you attract what you believe, eh? Actually, that's the point there. Funny how you attract what you believe, because I believed it, and the only people that were wealthy that I knew were arseholes. So, isn't that interesting? So there's just some good support books that I had over the years to read as I went through my mistakes. Procrastination was a biggie as well. Anyone suffer from procrastination? You know, when what about when you've done a proposal for a couple, say, or a family, and you're waiting for the decision? You know, that call when you've got to see whether or not they want to go ahead? Anyone put those calls off? You don't even call, there you go. Because of the fear of rejection, right? The fear of rejection is huge. So that procrastination, and what I found was do the worst first, was a really cool time management technique that I teach now. Do the worst first. Whatever it is you're putting off, do it first. And it's probably a big disease of people that are doing proposals is their actual follow-up. You think the proposal's going to do it all, eh? But you know, the thing is that this is one of the most personal situations, right? So you've got to make it more personal. So my encouragement to you would be if they email you, call them. Because you can do more with your voice and the way that you are. You're all nice people. Like that's why I went around, got to know a lot, you know, not know a lot about you, well, except for Chris, but the rest of you are really nice. And so you're all personable. And so don't devalue that. But you place what are you going to do on the day? You're not going to talk to anyone. You know, you've got to speak to them, right? So it's almost like
I fought this like crazy.
Yeah, really did.
So
but when
you get an inquiry, you just call them.
What they were doing was they were getting calls for inquiries, and then they were doing quotes, and then they were just leaving the quotes out there in the air, in the ether. Eh? They were going to come in, hopefully. Eh? Magic. They'd turn up. And so very few actually turned up. They'd still get more incoming calls themselves, you know, more on the spot.
They hire us, they hire our personality more than they'll like the photos and then more importantly it's our personality.
Exactly. So you want to be different to your competitors? Yeah, but make that call. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit quickly about, on this page 2, about what you say when you make that call. So don't worry, I'm not going to leave you high and dry to say, make the call, and let me know how you get on. But I'm going to give you some tips about how to structure that start of the call. And then you'll be away once you get chatting to them. But I'll just give you some structure to start it off. Well, am I going to buy a person or am I going to buy an email? You know, what's worth more money to me? Hence, I gave you pens because I knew you'd feel like that. So I've given you pens so you can just write some quick scripting out for yourselves and try it tomorrow. Try it as soon as you can, rather than waiting. But like I said, I can only give you tidbits tonight. We don't have enough time for me to go into it in enough detail that I'd love to give you to really support you in that. But if you want to know more, I'm going to do 4 half-day workshops at home and on the psychology of selling and the amount of times when I'm talking about selling and they start off going, I'll just sit back on this bit because I'm not really interested in selling. I'm not going to be a salesperson. And I say, well, you're already a salesperson. You know, just by the way that you conduct yourself each day, you're selling yourself to people, selling your ideas, getting friends to do what you want them to do on the weekend. So, you know, kind of our psychology behind selling is a bit warped, I think, of our understanding. Yeah, and so the amount of times when I've done 2 days and people say, man, I'd be quite happy to go for a sales job now because of the way that I train it. So if you do want to have a think about that, there's a registration form up there. And we'll go into lots of phrasings, lots of scripting, how to close it at the end, how to do the follow-up calls, how to put a proposal together, all that sort of stuff that might be useful for actually, you know, doing a proposal rather than just, well, this is how much I am. I talk about selling isn't about selling yourself, it's about matching what they need. Yeah, it's all about that. So
people like talking about themselves, so just let them.
Yeah. The way I teach selling is so that people want to buy off you rather than you having to sell to them. It's a totally different mindset around it. I don't like pushy salespeople, but following up because, hey, we've had an engagement, you know, discussion, and I've sent you some stuff, so of course I'm going to follow up to check if you got it, and what you thought of it, and you know where we should go from here. Kira, you might have said, what does my day look like now? And basically how it looks now is, so where it's got to now is that I've got 5. There's 5 of us in my team now. And so it got to 1.1 week, this has just happened more recently, we've really grown heaps. And I've got a PA, so I outsource all my stuff to my PA. And I was sitting there at my desk going, okay, so Catherine's doing this, Tracy's doing that, Russ is doing this, And who else have I got? Ruth's doing this. God, and Kirsty, my PA's busy at her place. And I'm just sitting in my office going, so what should I do next? Because my whole role's changed. So I'm going to start a YouTube channel and do some vlogging. Hence, I've got some. I just bought $1,000 worth of gear tonight. So that's sort of next steps for me. But so I remember it's quite cool to be able to have this chat tonight and think about all the mistakes I made early on and where I am now. And so now my time management's quite different because my people managing right now more than I'm just managing myself to go and see clients and do training. So it can change over the years, and definitely mindset changes that. So I think I've got also one of the points there was practice daily positive mindset, was have something positive that you think every day. When the recession hit, I lost 50% of my business, and that was devastating for me. Like I did a lot of work for the Exclusive Brethren around New Zealand. They've got 800 businesses nationwide, so that was a huge market. Once I did one, they all talked. And so it was constant, can you come here? Can you come to Bulls? Can you come to Invercargill? Can you come to Whangarei? All over the place and doing training for them. And then when the recession hit, they must have put a call out to say, stop spending any money on training. And so all of my proposed work was cancelled, and all the dates I was waiting on was cancelled. So I was in a terrible state. And so every day, that's when I read The Secret. But before I read The Secret every day, I'd get up and think, oh, man, I hope my business doesn't go under. Oh, what am I going to do if I lose my house? That's my daily thoughts with that. What the F am I doing? And when I read The Secret, I thought, well, how dare I speak that into my life? How dare I? That's just terrible stuff to be putting into my life. And so instead I changed it to, I have an abundant business. We have an abundant business that customers love to work with. And I can't even not smile when I say that, because I just so believe it so that much. But it came from faking it till I made it. Where I just go, we have an abundant business that customers love to work with. And now, every time I say that, I get more business. I'll have another inquiry tomorrow, I guarantee it. Yeah, so have some kind of positive thing that you say to yourself every day about how great it's going to be. Because I tell you what, if you think it's going to be good or bad day, either way, you're right. Right? So you've got to decide how you're going to wake up, be deliberate about it, and choose your attitude. Being a victim of it, yeah. Oh, if only I had more work in. Well, you figure out an activity produces results is another point here. So making sure that you're active around anything. Just be active during the day, and you'll find your creative vortex of stuff and work comes in. I'd be working on something, but busy because I wanted to have integrity about each day and be doing the right thing by my business. And then work would start coming in. And I go, shivers, that's not even what I was working on. I was working on these clients and all this work came in. And then the more I did that, the more I found work came in. It was unbelievable. So it's like it creates a vortex of some sort. I don't know. It sounds ethereal, but it flipping works. And being me, misreading personality styles. So make sure that you mirror them. And when you're dealing with people that are different to you, be like them. Don't be like you. It's the best I can say. We do that's an hour-and-a-half session, personality styles. But honestly, if I deal with somebody who's a bull, so when I'm dealing with a bull, what I do is I try and be is when I'm dealing with a bull, I will be bullish back. So I'll cut out the smile. You're like, are you shitting me? When I'm talking to her. So, the bulls will be like that. They'll just call it say what they think. And so being like them actually makes it more of a game, and it's a fun game. So matching the personality style. If someone's fun and smiles a lot, smile. Don't keep a serious face because you're all about your business. Be like them. Yeah. I'm not saying change your whole personality and who you are and what you're about. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, just for that engagement with those people, be like them and you'll see another side of them come out. But what I found was when I smiled to make them smile, then they wouldn't. And I'd end up going, oh man, they're really hard, they're a tough nut to crack. So the reason why I teach this is because I got told to F off from a client. I walked in, I was all smiley and myself, and he was a bold personality, and his basic body language was like this to me. And I said, hi, I'm Jackie from the Xerox shop. And I I just your business looks really successful. You got lots of staff, so that's really good. I just wanted to talk about crap because he was so cold. I talked about crap, and then I said, "Oh, and it's really nice offices too. You must be doing really well too. That's so lovely. I love it." Yeah, and nothing. And then I said, and so now I'm really scrambling. How uncomfortable is that, right? Because he's just standing like this, looking at me like I'm an idiot. And so then I said, it's great weather outside today. And the last thing I remember saying was, and it was in the Wollongabba in Brisbane. And I said, did you see the cricket on the weekend? That was awesome, eh? And he went, you've just wasted 5 minutes of my time. Fuck off. In front of all of our staff. And I was so mortified. And so I never wanted that to happen again. And so I learned about personality styles and how to match them so that they felt more encouraged and trusting about our relationship. And it's not about giving anything of yourself away or changing who you are. It's just about making them feel comfortable. So there's bull, peacock, lamb and owl are the 4 styles we teach. And so when we're teaching the 4 styles, the owl, for example, they're all about, some of you are owls, and all about the detail, perfectionism, process. You want to write it? Oh, you have to come to the 4 half days. But in the owl, so the owls are all about process, detail, deliberate, comprehensive responses. I want all the information. I want to know what lens you're using on your camera. I want to know what other lenses you've got, because we may want to change that. As other people won't care about what lens you're using. Just is it going to look good? So the peacocks will worry about whether they're going to look good. The owls will be worrying about everything. So this cost here, you said that no, that's the owl, about every single bit of detail. So I gave a proposal to an owl. This is all by phone and emailing because they were in Matamata, and sent the proposal down and said, I'll send you the proposal, and when you've got it, how long will it take you to make a decision? And he said, give us 3 days. And I said, okay, I'll give you a call on Tuesday. What time suits you best? And he said 11 o'clock. And I said, okay, I'll call you Tuesday at 11 and I'll follow up the proposal, because that's what we do, right? We follow up proposals now, don't we? And so I rang him at Tuesday at 11 o'clock. I put it in my phone, call him. The other thing I've learned is save everyone's numbers by their names. So if a customer calls you, save it under their name so that when they call you again, you can go, hey, Debbie, how's it going? And they go, oh, that's spooky. You know my name. I stalk you. But so what I did was I rang him at 11 o'clock, and when we got the business, he said, I said, what made you choose us? And he said, because you called me at Tuesday at 11 o'clock. So that's foundational to our sales training. When we do it, we start with that for an hour and a half and get everyone to analyse each other and work out and think about friends and family. And so these are life skills. These aren't just work skills. So, that's what we try and get you to think about them in your life, with your family and friends. Think about who you can match. So another owl client had 10 bullet points about the brief of what they wanted. That's very owlish. Bulls would be bullet points, but they'd be like a couple of words, right? Not sentences. These were 10 sentences about what they wanted. And so is that you? And so I got the owl email and I was like, owl, okay. So I'm going to have to be very slow because I'm bullet a gate and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let's miss out, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. No one will notice. You don't do that with an owl. So you cover every single step, everything. Make sure I'm really deliberate about all my steps. So I rang them and I got the engagement going over the phone, and then said, I'll put a proposal together. Thanks so much for your brief. That's awesome. And then what I did was I cut and pasted their brief into the proposal and said, this is my understanding of what you want. And then I cut and pasted their brief into my proposal, and I changed the words from we want, which is what they said, we were looking for, our team is, I said your team is, you're looking for. That's all I did. And then I put the recommended solution together under that, and then the investment. They came back and said, oh yeah, we've chosen you, can you come in and meet with us again? Can you come and meet with us? This is the first time they wanted to meet. And so I went and met them, and I said, what made you choose us? And they said, because you just nailed the brief. I know, so interesting. Eh? So when people are talking to me, I'll use things back to them. If somebody said they want training and they want it in lecture style, so they were going to set it up tonight lecture style, with all rows of seats. That's not my style at all. And so rather than, I just bulldozed really and just changed it. But what I could have done was said, so what sort of style do you think it's going to be set up in? Oh, lecture style. Oh, okay. And then I would have probably asked more questions around that. Why do you think that works? And what's your examples of how do people prefer it? Oh, well, we don't know. We haven't really asked. Okay.
I think it's important to remember as well, a lot of the questions that they ask you, they've just picked out of a wedding bride magazine that they've been told to ask.
And of course they don't want to look posed, and of course they don't want to have double
and
chins.
I think when they say
Of course they want to look best.
Know what they're talking
No,
about.
they want, that's right.
No, but it's true, they picked it out of a wedding magazine and they've asked the photographer the questions that they've been told to ask.
And I think the main thing is people just don't want to look like their parents' 70s.
No, exactly.
Yeah, so that's
when it comes.
Oh, and if you said that to me, I'd buy you. I'd buy your service, because if you said so what you're saying is you don't want to look like your parents' 70s pics. Am I right? And they go, yeah, thank you. So you could be a peacock, bull, lamb or owl in any situation, depending on how safe you feel, who you're around, what triggers they're pushing on you as well. I become bull around some of my staff because they're just so peacock. We never get anything done, so I have to become more bull. And that, frightens the hell out of them because they're so used to me being peacock with them. So it's just, we can change all the time. So it's not about, I'm not boxing you or going, that's what you are and that's it. But I think lamb, owl. So the lambs are nurturers, trying to please everybody, say yes to everything instead of no when they should say no sometimes. So sometimes lambs hate conflict. They don't like being the centre of attention. They don't like asking for help. They don't like to impose on people. So that's, yeah. And the owls, is that you? And the owls. And they're just the nicest, they're gentle, so you're softer and but warm, very warm and soft. So that, whereas you didn't come across like others came across quite more bolshy, like out there in your face, so that, tell it like it is. I'm going to tell you how it is. That's not you at all. So that's where a contrast between you two, right? But if I only had a room full of you, then you might be quite peacock, right? So you change depending on who you're around and what the dynamics are in the room. So page 3 is 3 tips for successful conversion. So what this is about is, notice I've got at the top there trust, because if you want to convert more people into buying your services, it comes down to how much trust are you building. And building trust, we're lucky we've talked about the personality styles, because you build trust with a lamb differently to the way you build trust with an owl, differently to a bull, but differently to a peacock. So with all of those, understanding those styles is really, really important. So your mirroring is so important, getting that right. So being around them the way that they're comfortable with, not the way you're comfortable with. When I'm teaching telemarketers, one of the biggest things I have to teach them is to stop saying, hi, it's Jackie calling from the Great Scott Company. How are you today? Because that's very social. And bulls and owls hate that. Most people hate that, but bulls and owls in particular, because they're like, why are you asking me how I am? What are you ringing about? Get to the point. Get to the point. So, whereas lambs and peacocks are all about the social stuff first. I can have a business meeting with my peacock clients, and we talk for the first 50 minutes about crap, social stuff, fun stuff, laugh a lot, and then then we go, oh shivers, oh I've got to go. And they go, oh, can you just email me some dates? When that's what the whole meeting was supposed to be about. But that's what gets me business too, because I mirror what they're comfortable with, because that's building trust. It's taking that time. And if I didn't do that, they wouldn't trust me, because they'd be like, oh, you're all about the business. You just want to sell to us. Yeah, whereas bulls and owls, if I don't get to the business, they're like, oh, you're a ditz. Yeah, you're wasting my time. I'm too busy for this. Yeah, it's nice weather. Lovely offices you've got. You'll never forget that now, eh? So when you're waffling to some bull that's just standing there with a deadpan face looking at you, like you're shitting me, somebody's saying that to you, eh?
But see, with my meetings, it's like, if the meeting's 45 minutes, it's 42 minutes of getting to know who they are. And then at 44 minutes, I'm like, oh, fuck, that's right, we've got to talk about contracts. So it's 35% deposit, I'll send you a contract, but it's all online, you don't have to print it or anything, it's easy as. If you want to go ahead, flick me a message and we'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, but make sure you feel comfortable, don't rush it. I can't hold the date until you pay the deposit, but make sure you feel comfortable. It's more important that you feel comfortable with me than rushing it.
Do you see what he's doing there? So he's making the relationship more important than the business side. Yeah. Okay, so with two different styles, I try and pick the way that I ask a question to the one, and then the way I pitch a question to the other one would be quite different. So I just adjust my style during the meeting. Talk about what they want to talk about, in the meeting. So the first thing is build trust by getting to know them. Shivers, in my business, I'm in the corporate world, and I have to schmooze. I do coffees, take people out, clients out for lunch, and that's how I get business. And so because I get to know them, if I have to do that, then how effective do you think you're doing by just replying to an email? And it's not to say you're not. I shouldn't say that I don't mean that derogatively. You're not a failure in what you're doing. But what I mean is you could probably do even better. If you're already doing okay and you're only doing it by email, how much better can you do if you start doing some face-to-face stuff? Because you're all great people. You're all easy to talk to. I chatted to each of you as you came in. I remember at Yellow Pages when lots of the reps used to say, so I was in Yellow Pages for years selling, and I remember all the reps saying, oh, Friday afternoons are so bad for calling customers because they just don't want to be called on a Friday afternoon because they're winding down for the weekend. So I'd think, right, I'm going to call on Friday afternoons. That's going to be my thing. I'm going to master the Friday afternoon thing. And so I'd make all my appointments on Friday afternoons. I had the best time because they'd all be chilled out, ready for the weekend. We talk about the weekend, with the peacocks and lambs. Yeah, so be careful of that mindset, of when do you call them? When will they want you to call them? You never know that, So you're a priority, for them, aren't you? When you think about it, you're so important, such an important part of it. Yeah, and so the more active you are with them, the more comfortable they'll feel like they're in good hands. You're the person in control. You're on the phone at 9 o'clock on Monday. Wow, you're onto it. You're a business person. So build trust by getting to know them. Use positive communication and 3-step purpose, process, hook. So what I do in calls and face-to-face meetings, I use the purpose, process, hook technique. So, for example, I might say, Thomas, the reason why, so it's good to catch up with you today. Thanks so much for meeting with me. What I wanted to do today, so that was the purpose was really we wanted to catch up. So say he's rung me and said he wants me to come and do some photography for his business. So I'd say, Thomas, the reason why I'm here today is because you said that you wanted to look at doing some photography for your business, and so that's the purpose. So it's just what you wanted, Yep. So the reason for my call is that you emailed me about some being the photographer for your wedding. The reason for my call is that you wanted some photos of your kids taken. The reason for my call is that, right? So that's the first call. Thanks so much for your email. The reason I'm calling now is because, you start with it's Jackie calling from Great Scott Photography. The reason I'm calling is that you emailed me just wanting to, when you inquired, because they might have had 60 things go on since then. So jog their memory about why you're calling, what it is that triggered your call. So the reason for my call is that you wanted some, you said that you were interested in looking at some photographs for your wedding. Cool. Okay, well, process. I'm going to say the process statement now. So what I wanted to do was, now you can either do two things. You can either meet with them. So what I wanted to do was arrange to catch up with you so that we can meet and have a chat about what it is that you're looking for. So if you're comfortable doing that, better to do face-to-face than over the phone or email. Face-to-face is always, I get better conversion rates face-to-face than phone or email. So I do okay over the phone and email, but if you want to up it, step outside your comfort zone. So what I'll do is I'll ask you some questions and then I'll put together a price for you because it depends on what you need. Okay, so it's important that you get the right price for what you want, isn't it? So what I just did there was what we call a hook. So what I did was made you say yes to me. You hate that, eh? But I made you do that. So hooks are, so the purpose is why I'm calling you, why we're meeting. So hey, it's good to catch up with you today to talk about the wedding. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? So I've just used a purpose and a hook. It's good to catch up with you today to talk about the wedding. It's exciting, isn't it? Yes. So I made you say yes, right? So hooks, we use them all the time, but I'm just going to teach you how to use them deliberately to create yes scenarios. And you probably use them anyway, but just know that you're using them. That's all I'm saying. No, so that's a question. But what a hook it does, a hook makes you say yes. So in Kiwiland, we use A as a hook, right? So we go A. So we say, it's great to get a chance just to have some training, isn't it? Or we say it was a great game on Saturday, A. So depending on, we use A for social stuff, but I use isn't it, or don't we, or haven't we, in business. So it's just a hook at the end where you say haven't we, or don't we, or haven't, depending on what's the right grammar for the question. So it might be, that's a really clear sign, isn't it? Now, why do we use hooks? Because it relaxes people, it gets them on our side, it makes them say yes to us. And so it makes them feel like we're both on the same team now. You're one of them, we're not opposites, you're not trying to sell to me, we're both on the same page. We're both on the same page. It has a really interesting subliminal thing it does to people without actually being too obvious. It'll feel really obvious when you first use one. It's stating the obvious. It's like a rhetorical question, but they will say yes to it, won't they? So I use them all the time because I know the power and I love them. I love having people say yes to me because it makes me feel like I'm not alone up here talking. Right, because we're all part of a team. We're all having a good time, aren't we? So A is the other thing. So we use A's a lot in our social lives. But isn't it, haven't we, don't they? Oh, those All Blacks have got a great chance of winning the World Cup, don't they? So it makes people say, yeah, oh yeah. You'll love it. And so try using it on your friends first so that they're really natural. And then try and inject it into the beginning of the discussion. So you might want to write it down what you're going to say. So it might be the reason I'm calling is that you emailed me about wanting to look at having a photographer for your wedding, and I know that you're interested in some prices. And they say, yeah, that's right. And you say, okay. So what I want to do is I just want to ask you some questions, and then we'll get to I'll put together a proposal. I'll put some thought into that because you want the right price, don't you? See, it's as easy as that. And it's really, you'll feel obvious when you first do it. I remember Chris saying, oh, it feels really salesy. Oh, I'm not really not comfortable with that. And you guys fought that, eh? Fought hooks, like anything. But now, so it does take practice, getting used to them. But you just got to think, what's a natural, obvious question to say when the reason why I'm calling is that you emailed me about getting some photography for your wedding and some prices together. I'm sure is the most important thing, isn't it? Getting the price together is the most important thing, isn't it? So that's purpose and hook. So I'll just ask you some questions and I can make sure I get the right price for you. You could send the proposal and then say, I'll send it if it's an owl, I would send it first, straight away. So they've got plenty of time to read it through and ask and formulate all of their questions that they might want to ask. And do some research on everything that you're talking about, and then they'll have lots of questions for you. But make sure that when you say I'm going to send it to you, what date, what will you want to do with that? Oh, we'll want to talk about it and decide. So how long will that take you? When do you want me to follow up with a call so that we can discuss it? And so they'll say, oh, Tuesday at 11. Okay, I'll give you a call on Tuesday at 11. Or shall I come and see you on Tuesday? And then we can talk about it then.
I've got a live one for you. Inquiry. So I just got this email while we were sitting here. And this is what I think is an owl. They said, hey Chris, we're David and Lara, we're just engaged couple looking to start the process of planning our wedding. At present we're aiming for January 2021 with an approximate guest list of 180. We're interested in working with you and would like to discuss potential options and wedding packages you have available.
Yeah.
We have a number of questions and hoping to get more information. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Yep, that's an hour, our email.
So what would you say to that?
Yeah, so then, they...
I want to get the job, obviously.
They'll want that. Where are they? Do you know? So...
Probably 6 of us have the same inquiry.
So to start with, if you're only emailing them, then the next step for you would be to call them, right? And say, to take that next step from tonight. So to stretch yourselves will be to call them. So I'd call them and I'd say, hey there, look, the reason I'm calling is that I got your email about your wedding coming up in 2021. I would say, The reason for my call is that I've got your email about your wedding in 2021, and so what I wanted to do was just ask you some questions so that I can put together a full proposal of all of our packages, because it's good to know what all your options are, isn't it? That would be my hook. In fact, that's the most common hook I use, is because it's good to know your options, isn't it? But with an owl, I'd say, because it's good to know what all your options are, isn't it? Because they want more comprehensive responses. Got that? Is it clear? You understand what I'm saying here? So the purpose, the reason why I'm calling, the process of what I'm going to do is ask you some questions. Don't just ask questions. Tell them you're going to ask them questions and what's in it for them. So I'm going to ask you some questions so I can put together the right proposal for you. The best one. I'm going to put together the best proposal for you that includes the packages that are right for you. They'll love that. That's any personality style will love that because it's about them, not you. Yeah. If they don't have their phone number, ask them for their phone number. Hey, I'd love to give you. I need to give you a call so that I can put together the right package. I need to ask you some questions because it's really important that you get the right price for the right package, isn't it? I'd say that in an email, or I might not even say the isn't it. I might just say because it's important that you get the right price. Or because it's important that you get the right price. Because it's important you get the right price, I need to ask you some questions. So when are you free for a phone chat and what's the best number to call you on?
What if they say just email me?
And then I'd email them the questions. So I'd still ask them heaps of questions beforehand. Okay, so far? We've got to wind this up, eh? Shivers. Have we gone over time? Are you all okay? Well, you're all still here. You could have run away, I guess, eh? And then ask some questions, and I've got here, build trust by asking lots of questions about them, not what you want to sell. So don't, as soon as I see people go, for example, whereabouts is your wedding going to be? Oh, it's going to be on Waiheke. Oh, I live on Waiheke. Forget about you. We're not here to talk about you, we're talking about them. So focus on them. Oh, Waiheke, why Waiheke? Oh, because my parents lived there. Awesome. Okay. Whereabouts are they living? Oh, okay. You might slot in there then, but focus more on them than you. I see people go, oh, well, I can do that. You know, oh, we really want this. Oh, I can do that. Don't be telling them what you can do. Tell them find out from them what they need. So hold back on yourself. It is needy. It's like seeking approval. It's like, oh, look, we're going to be such good friends because we've got so much in common. Stop it. Just stop it. Have you ever seen the video, Stop It, by Bob Newhart? Does anyone know Bob Newhart? Check it out. Stop It by Bob Newhart. Just a quick YouTube clip. It's very funny. Anyway, so you build trust by asking lots of questions, not by telling them all the things you can do for them. Asking sells, telling doesn't sell. So even though you think that you've got to fill them in on all the intricate details about your everything you offer, only to ours. Don't bother with the rest of the world. The other 3/4, they won't be interested. They want to know what's the outcomes that they're going to get for it, not the journey you go on to get there. But they also want to know the journey, and then they want to know the cost, and they want to know all the outcomes. So they want all of that. Okay? So ask lots of questions. Ask about them, then ask them about them some more, and then ask about their needs and wants. Don't talk about yourself or your services until you've got their approval. So how do we get their approval that it's okay to now sell? By summarising. And the way that I summarise in closing, before we finish, I'm just going to give you a quick tip about how you summarise. You go, so if I can put together a proposal, I've written that down for you. So if I can put together a proposal that includes your wedding on Waiheke on Saturday the 5th of January, and includes this, and this, and around the budget of $20,000, is that everything that you're looking for? So I might say that, or I might say, will that work for you? Of course they're going to say yes, because it's everything they've just told you. So I find out too, when I come and meet with you, what's your coffee? And so I take them a coffee and find out, and I've got in my calendar on my phone, I've got my client meetings coming out. I've got Brendan tomorrow, and he likes a trim latte, so I'll take him a trim latte and turn up every time, yeah. So as part of that meeting ritual is finding out what their coffee, what their preferred drink is. Not alcoholic. Or would they prefer wine at 11 in the morning? Okay, so it's all about them, getting to know them, putting it, it's less about me and about them. So then when I put my proposal together, it is a tailored package, but it's still a package that I've probably sold to 60 clients before. but it's tailored for them and they don't know that yet. And they've got to feel like it's all about them and it's tailored for them and that you've written it just for them. So what I'll do is I'll go and put some thought into this and I'll come back to you with something. Yeah, I'm going to have to really think about it. The best way to put this together for you, so it really works for you. So the rest of the document is really about us and it's what clients have said about us and who some of our clients are. We've got big and little clients. And I just did a sales training around the table with one guy the other day, and that's at my place, and that was awesome. And we just got to really focus on what he did. So that was a one person. Otherwise, we deal with some of the biggest employees in New Zealand. And who are we? There's myself and Rusky and Tracy, the key trainers. And then we've got the programs that we run for the Ministry of Social Development, getting people back into work, which are really worthwhile programs too. So if you'd like to attend my At Home with Jack's sales workshop, that's tailor-made for you, then there is a form over on the glass cabinet there with a pen. So just put your name. You're not committing to, I'm definitely going to come. Let me do the sale. I'll sell you. Yeah, I'll call you. And we'll have a chat. Yeah. That's right. You know, your comfort zone's here. I did a t-shirt, some t-shirts for a conference once, and I found it on the net somewhere, and it had like a circle and it said, your comfort zone. Oh, your comfort zone, and arrow down to it. Have you seen that? And then it's got where the magic happens over here.
So first off, I've got to say thanks to Jackie for coming along and just having a chat with us. It's really good to hear a perspective about marketing from someone that's not actually a photographer and is a little bit less biased. I feel sometimes our own opinions and our own what works for us might not work for other people. So it's good to have someone from the outside in coming in to talk to us about it. One thing I've noticed while editing this video, it definitely shows that actually turning up to events like this and being present and being able to engage and ask questions, you definitely get more out of it than just watching it. So while this video was a little bit long and I hope you guys enjoyed it and got something out of it, definitely try and come along to stuff like this in the future. When you can engage and ask questions and get answers to your questions, it really helps. And I think a lot of people got a lot out of it. So again, thanks to Jackie for coming along. Thanks to the guys at Auckland Camera Centre for putting on the food and the drinks. They've always supported our group and my channel and everything like that. So really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoy the video.